Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum and good day to everyone. Welcome to the Islam and Liberty Network's ongoing webinar series called Edraak, Recognizing Liberty. The Edraak webinar series is part of our monthly public dialogues aimed at enhancing understanding of the concept of liberty, its theoretical, legal, and social dimensions within diverse intellectual traditions. Today, we are honored to host Dr. Mohamed Bufaris, Associate Professor and Imam Ratib at Zaytuna College. A native of Morocco and a scholar steeped in both traditional and academic Islamic learning, Dr. Bufaris brings deep insight into Arabic language instruction and his transformative role in the Sous Madrasa tradition. Moderating the conversation is Ireland's Czech Republic Fellow, Dr. Badr Tachouche, a lecturer, researcher, and independent scholar whose work spans Islamic legal theory, Al-Andalus, and educational reform in the Muslim world. Together, they will unpack how Arabic education in the Sous region enables spiritual depth, legal reasoning, and intellectual autonomy. Let's now begin the discussion. Over to you, Dr. Badr.
Thank you, Noor. Thank you for this beautiful introduction. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Hello. And thank you for attending this new episode of the Idraak webinar. So when I was given the opportunity by the Islam and Liberty Network to suggest topics and people, I thought of education, intellectual independence, and of my dear friend Mohamed Bufaris. Um, so maybe something on the uh, what brings these things together: Islamic scholarship, intellectual independence, education, and Dr. Mohamed Bufaris. So, since I'm based in the Czech Republic, where a 17th century figure is considered by many Europeans to be the father of modern education, referring to Jan Amos Komensky or Comenius in Latin, who advocated for free thought within tradition, that led me to reflect on different teaching methods, those I experienced in Magharibi madrasas, and those I later encountered in European or modernized institutions. Since then, I've been exploring this area and presenting my humble findings. And today, I will be discussing this with my guest and dear friend, Dr. Mohamed Bufaris from Zaytuna College in California. Dr. Mohammed was also a lecturer at Mohammed bin Zayed University in the Emirates and studied at the prestigious Dar al-Hadith al-Hassaniya. But the part of his remarkable career I want to highlight today is the one that brought us together more than a decade ago, madrasa education and training. So by madrasa, we mean the advanced traditional centers of Islamic learning, not the elementary seed or kuttab, but the scholarly institutions that have shaped generations of independent thinkers in Morocco and other parts in North Africa. So thank you so much, Sidi Mohammed, for accepting to be with me today. I feel so blessed to have the right person, a knowledgeable and humble scholar of fiqh, and a reference of adab to speak on the right topic, inshallah. Before we begin, um, let me guide our attendees. Today's episodes, especially those who are used to Idraak webinar. So today's episode, exceptionally, is not a lecture, but a dialogue. Right? It's a conversation rooted in our memories, reflections, and shared experiences. We will journey from the broader challenges facing education today to the unique legacy of traditional learning in the Muslim world, especially the madrasa system, and finally to our own beloved Madrasa Igleh. To begin, let me offer the following claim. This is the framework of our conversation, and then I will address Sidi Muhammad with the first question of our discussion. So, uh, modern education, especially in our time, is facing real challenges. There is a crisis of authority in education, for example, as Hannah Arendt observed. There has been a shift from education to learning, a process that educators like Gert Biesta calls the learnification of education. And as a result, the student has been placed at the center of education rather than knowledge itself. So education has become subservient, if I may say, to the demands of the market and the preferences of the student, whereas it was once liberal and liberating. A few months ago, in response to this crisis, French educators wrote in Le Figaro, a famous uh, uh, platform and media platform and newspaper in France, responding to their Minister of Education that part of the solution, uh, I will just quote this, consiste à remettre l'église au centre du village. So to put to put the church back at the center of the village. Uh, so in our context, the madrasa in the Muslim world, particularly in North Africa, in Morocco and Sous, adopt different educational approaches. Dr. Bufaris and I believe that these traditional institutions have something meaningful to offer modern education in our weary era. In particular, we will look at the teaching of the Arabic language in the Sous region of Morocco. So, Sidi Muhammad, welcome again. And in light of today's challenges of um, education, how can madrasas respond meaningfully to um, um, respond meaningfully and remain relevant in contemporary education?
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وصلى الله وسلم على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. First of all, thank you so much for inviting me to this platform. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant you and all of us with tawfiq, inshallah. And what's a very beautiful name, Idraak. Idraak, as you know, in Arabic, is a deep understanding. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us deep understanding in our religion and the deep understanding of this world, mashallah. So, Alhamdulillah. So, I just go back to the what you mentioned, written by French journalists, when they said we should put the church in the center of the village. That was rise in madrasas in Sous. The madrasa is the center of the qabila. Qabila at the time there is no village, because people that are living a kind of group of people in each place, but they have something united them, which is a madrasa. And most of the time, the madrasa, everybody wants to take it next to his house, and that's why they share, they put it at the center. Most of the time, the center there was a valley. If you see many madrasa you visit here, they're next to the valley, because the valley most of the time it's the center of the qabila. That's why they put madrasa there. And also they keep in touch with the madrasa by sending a kind of charity to the madrasa each year. If they have any harvest time, they take some fruit or anything they take from the agriculture. They really give the charity to the madrasa. So the madrasa was at the center of the qabila at that time, and inshallah we are trying in nowadays to make it at the center. It doesn't mean to be at the center physically, but we want to bring it to the light and to give everybody an opportunity to know this methodology. So going back to your question, I think I'm talking from my experience here. I am not Arab. I am Amazigh. My language has nothing with Arabic. The vocabulary is the completely different. Structure is different. So I started learning Arabic in this madrasa, and Alhamdulillah, I'm not talking about myself. In many other people, they become fluent in Arabic. They can speak right, like if they are Arab, if the Arabic is their mother tongue, or maybe better than some people who belong to the Arab world. As you know, because in nowadays there is no place over the world in which we speak standard Arabic. If you go to the, for example, Morocco, they are speaking Darija. If you go to the, for example, Algeria, they are speaking their Darija. If you go to the Lebanon, for example, they are speaking Lebanon. If you go to the, even to the Saudi or the Emirates or the Qatar, all of them, they have their local language. It shares many things with the Arabic, Standard Arabic, but it is not Standard Arabic, which we are looking for to study the Quran, to study the Hadith, to understand our religion. So I think this methodology, once it benefits people who are not non-speakers of Arabic, which is Amazigh, it will benefit many other people over the world. Because I'm living in America, and I see people there, they are suffering with Arabic. They spend a lot of time learning Arabic. The America displaced Arabic in the five level, which means the hardest language for the Americans. The Arabic is the hardest language in America, and if you see, they put it in the five level, which means the hardest one. And I see many people coming from in Indonesia, coming from Malaysia, coming from Philippines, coming to this madrasa. They only spend 2 years, 3 years, they become fluent. That's why we are trying to take this methodology and share it with many other people who are non-speakers of Arabic. Because the methodology, once it's benefit those people here, inshallah, it will benefit other people who are not speaking Arabic. Yeah, this is the main thing I think is beneficial in this question. The methodology we are using here for non-speakers of Arabic is going to be good for many other people in other countries who are not speaking Arabic.
Thank you, Sir Mohammed. You said that you can't speak about yourself. I can speak on behalf of you. I know you for many years now. I know many other people around you who went through the same experience, and they are uh, uh, I uh, they became uh,
They become poets, Hassan, my brother, many other. They
I'm
become poets
referring
of.
to Hassan and Mustafa.
Yeah, yeah, they're writing, they're poets, they become poets.
They are.
Sheikh Hamza
They are.
always saying that if you understand poetry in any language, you are in the high level. So, what do you think about someone who is making poetry, who is becoming a poet? He's not just understanding it,
That's
he's writing poetry. Yeah.
that's so true. Um, Obviously you spend more times and years in Igleh and in Sous, but I myself consider myself a humble student of Igleh too. I saw the student there. I visited the school, the madrasa, many uh, times, and actually the reason why I went to Igleh in particular was uh, their focus on Arabic language besides other sciences, as we will explain in a while. Just allow me to shed more light on the first question. So we are still um, discussing the contemporary challenges of education in general, right? And how can madrasa, through its methodology, yes, maybe through other things, if you agree with me, uh, are there any other things besides manhajiyya, besides the method of teaching Islamic sciences that uh, you think uh, they can uh, uh, offer some solutions or some answers to uh, the contemporary uh, issues related to education. I just want to um, please make sure to. mute uh, our dear attendees. Please make sure to mute your uh, mics. Sidi Muhammad was saying that um, every time I think of madrasa, um, I think of the exemplary education. For example, the presence of the faqih or the teacher, and that kind of unique relationship between the faqih or the teacher and his students, which I haven't seen elsewhere, honestly. The relationship between the students and the teacher is key, in pedagogy, in the teaching methods. The mutual respect between the students and their teachers, and so forth. And in this regard, in this context, I remember that in my years I spent in Fas, Al Qarawiyyin University, I remember that there were two scholars. You certainly know them, Sidi Muhammad Tawil, rahimahullah, and Sidi
Yeah,
Muhammad Al Ghazi Al Husseini, the previous Muaqqit of Fas. I mean,
yeah.
even the current Muaqqit of Fas was my teacher, but I studied with the previous one, Sidi Muhammad Al Ghazi Al Husseini, Abu Shita. So because of age and illness, the university decided to take the class, to move the class from the university, right, to their places. So we were traveling to the Sidi Muhammad Al-Ghazi Husseini and Sidi Muhammad Tawil, right? And they were commenting on the books at their places, at their home, because they weren't able to come to university. And to see the teacher like that, interacting with like very naturally at home, while commenting on major textbooks like Bidayat al-Mujtahid and other books, and interacting with the students. Some members of their families came every time, interrupted, served the tea or some sweets. So this kind of relationship between the al-faqih, right, the teacher of madrasa who comes from this educational system, and many teachers from the modern or modernized systems is really really different, and I consider that a really key element in challenging contemporary educational problems.
Yeah, thank you very much for this good question. Mashallah, what you talk about is the main characteristics that differentiate the madrasa from the university. So I'll talk about this topic in two things. One of them is time that students spend with the sheikh or faqih. The second one is the encyclopedia of faqih in all materials. We know in madrasa, faqih is the one teacher we have in madrasa. He's teaching grammar, rhetoric, logic, usul, fiqh. All this we have here about 19 materials, 19 subjects, all taught by one faqih. So to have this person, to have this personality that gathers all this knowledge in front of you, gives you a lot of inspiration, a lot of ambition to become, to master these things. And also, the faqih has the ability of sharing and making knowledge go hand in hand with each other. It's completely different from if you study grammar with one teacher and you go to study logic with another teacher. Most of the time, didn't know the one who is teaching logic. He didn't know grammar. But if you were with faqih in the same class, he can take you from one text and give you many beneficial things, go into the logic, go into rhetoric, go into grammar, go into the fiqh, go into the sarf, go into many things. So this personality really gives the authority to the faqih to be, mashallah, to be in a high status in front of his students. That's why if you see students in these madrasas, they really respect their teacher. And we have living here, these madrasas more than 500 or 600 years, some of them, there will never be any fighting or police coming, never. And there are people living 100, more than 100, and living with each other 24 7 by 7, 24 hours, which means you are not just studying in a class for 1 hour and go back to your home. You are living there, you share all necessities, you share them with the students, you are living the same time, you in the same place, you are eating in the same place, you're having shower or washing clothes in mostly in the same place. So those people get in touch with each other, and there never been a fight between them. And faqih is always able to organize things and make things under his control, even if there are many students coming from different countries, different backgrounds, different languages, different areas inside of Morocco or outside. And that's why the madrasa is not just teaching you information, it's also giving you tarbiyah, which is really missing in our curriculum today. If you send your kids to the madrasa just for 2 months, you will see the change in his personality positively. It's not like if you send him to the other school. So these characteristics, the encyclopedia of Sheikh, uh, and also the time a student spend with Sheikh day and night, and the Sheikh is able to see each student. He doesn't just know his level of knowledge. He knows also his personality, and also he
Mm.
knows is also his abilities. If he's shy, he is zombie, anything about your personality. Your sheikh can tell you anything about yourself, and also he can give you advice in each aspect of your life. And
Yeah.
and also okay, and I'm talking, I'm speaking here, and they see in front of my eyes many examples that I lived with in my life, in these madrasas.
I hope some of our attendees will ask you share with us some real examples. But for now, I want to add that that's the uh, application. That's the most beautiful application, or in our modern time, of Ibn Ashir's verse يصحب شيخا عارف المسالك صح؟
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Uh,
Mm.
here, I just saw, just seen Dr. Uh, Bianca Speidel. She is the organizer of an event I attended last maybe 2, 3 weeks in the UK, and I hope to hear from her at the end of our webinar. And I was there, and I was sharing some experiences from Igleh and other schools. But I mentioned that uh, um some of the aspects or features of education in madrasas, which can be useful in tackling the modern problems of education, including uh, what we can look at as eco-friendly learning tools. I was talking to some of the of my colleagues at the conference about how the students make their alwah, the boards on which they write the Quran and the mutun. Their aqlam, the pens are homemade. Even the ink, the smak or smag, salsal, how to clean the lawh and how they clean their clothes, as you mentioned. And no disruptive electronic devices, and no. I've never heard of. Cases of cheating, for example, or plagiarism back then. And on the other, I heard you saying that the time we spent with the faqih, all the time you spent with the faqih, besides uh, the benefit of knowing each other, like personally and spiritually and intellectually, uh, and uh, thanks to that long time we spent together. But I just I was just wondering, I've never heard um, madrasa teachers of faqih complaining about burnout. It's one of the problems in a like burnout. Although the time they spend with their talaba, teaching them almost every ilm, as you said, and with the community members, with the tribe members, solving their problems, right? And the similarly, I've never met madrasa student complaining about anxiety or depression, like nowadays, our students from the what I can call outcome based uh,
Yeah.
uh, teaching approach. It's really often, it's really common to hear teachers and students alike complaining about this, stress, anxiety, burnout, and so forth. So in madrasa, we don't uh, we don't have this kind of problems. If you
Yeah.
allow, Sidi Muhammad, uh, I wanted to ask you something about uh, Igleh now. Let's go back to Igleh in
Yeah, yeah.
particular,
If you allow me, I just want to talk
please.
about this topic. Uh, for feeling for the madrasa, mashallah, the sheikh is really enjoying his teaching and seeing his fruits in his students. I was with my sheikh and he told me if I see, if I just see in front of me some students, they are good. I feel I like if they are nourishing me with something new. Even if they are teaching the same, for example, they give different classes to different students. You can teach beginners, then the intermediate, then the upper. I told him, don't feel a little bit boring if you are teaching beginners. MashaAllah, you're on a high level, and you become to explain to somebody where is اسم فعل حرف الكلام هو اللفظ المركب المفيد بالوضع وأقسامه ثلاثة سواء اسم وفعل وحرف. Where is the حرف? Where is the preposition? Where is the verb? Where is the noun? Which is the basic things in Arabic to differentiate between where is the preposition, where is the verb, where is the noun. And he told me, I enjoy every single moment I teach those beginner students. And I have a story. He told me, I teach the Ajrumia 84 times. Each time I find something new in it,
Um,
which means those people, they really have a kind of deep side. And they are teaching with their feelings, because they love teaching. In terms also of students, they are dealing with the students like their kids, right? Like their son. In the time of the corona, many students, they leave the madrasa because of the COVID-19. So after COVID, students coming back, and some of them missed. Sheikh missed some of them. He said, "Where is your friend?" They told him he is going to work with somebody, and said, "How much what is the salary he's taking from this work?" And he said, "So and so." So just call him to come. I'll give him this salary, because he said, I see these students, he's a very, and he said he's belonged to a kind of poor family, but he's very smart, and he memorized the Quran very quick, and memorized many things. And said, I just teach him something and he understand it very quick. And he told me I gave him the salary just to keep him safe in the madrasa because they
mm,
want them also, they are following their students after they are graduates.
mm,
Yeah, this
mm,
is
mm.
those people. They are really working hard in their hearts. They're not just taking it as a job. Like if you are
Yeah,
just doing your job and you are filling your hours and you go back to your class. No, he's thinking of anybody. He's thinking of any students. Thinking about his future, his family. His some students even coming to them. They bring their family's problem. Said, "Oh, I have my father. He's sick, and so and so." And the sheikh is giving him something to take to this father. So this kind of teaching is really having a barakah by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because really the relationship between sheikh and student is not grades. There is no grades. You are studying something to know it, not just to be graduated in it. For example, if you memorize the Quran, you cannot tell me I have certificate that shows I memorized the Quran. But memorizing the Quran is you still memorize it all the time. You can't say, I just get the certificates. No, I no. You have to keep reading it because memorizing it is still in your mind. It should stay in your mind all the time. You cannot just so the same goes with all this. When I was a student there before 23 years now, the only exam I have is each day one of students will have iftar, will have breakfast with the sheikh. Each day, one of the students is coming to the
mm,
table of the sheikh and having iftar with him. This
mm.
iftar is really sheikh giving you his advice and also asking you about your studies. What do you study? Do you know this? This is the only exam we have. One the time, for example, the day in which you will have iftar with sheikh, it was a very stressful day because you are thinking of the to answer his questions, and you want also to be able to understand and to get very quick his advice, and he just sit and ask you in a very peaceful transfer and a very peaceful way, asking you about what did you study, do you understand this, can you talk about this, can you read this, can you say this, did you memorize this text, and so on and so on. So this relationship between sheikh and students, by spending this all the time with them, they really benefit students a lot.
It's true. So the students do not study for diplomas and attestations, and the faqirs do not teach for promotions or for grants or for getting published or whatsoever. Not underestimating any of these aspects of education, just putting the
Sure.
things side by side together so other people from our attendees have the full image of how things work here and there. So our second point, Sidi Muhammad, let's reflect together uh, uh, on uh, on this point. How does uh, Igleh? Now we are focusing on Igleh Madrasa. How does Madrasat Igleh, through its emphasis on the Arabic language, foster independent thinking? Now we are talking about intellectual independence, right? So let's try to put these two things together. Madrasa Iqbi, its focus on Arabic language, and how this uh, may help our students from different backgrounds, Arabic speakers, non-Arabic speakers, um, uh, uh, in order to improve or inspire independent thinking. So, considering that madrasas in general are rooted in religious knowledge, right? Um, how does Igleh help protect young people from uh, narrow or limited thought or ideologies? So, Igleh, uh, free thought or independent intellectual independence, and you know how do you see this uh, trivium or these three elements working together?
Yeah, firstly, uh, uh, the sheikh is playing the big role in this point, because sheikh will never ask you what is your madhab, where are you coming, what is your tariqah, for example, or what kind of thinking you support. Never asking you these questions. He just right the we're saying the Igleh tradition and Igleh teaching is based on the Islam in its pure version, which means teaching students the education, the Islamic studies in pure vision. We don't ask them any questions about their madhabs or their tariqah, or if they are supporting an sheikh or another, or sheikh asks you to for example to become one of his students, or never, and will never talk to you badly about other people. So the only I asked myself, I asked the Sheikh of this question. I told him, I told him, what did you do to make your students, they are free thinking, they can have their ideas, and they are mashallah open minded. He told me, I teach them knowledge, and knowledge will teach them anything they want. I don't need to put myself in like a kind of besides or between them and the knowledge. If they understand and they teach what we have here, they will choose the beneficial things for themselves. We don't need to tell them do this or don't do this. So I think the personality of Sheikh is really playing a big role in this point, because Sheikh never talk badly about people. He never trying to like promote some people or some claim or some tariqa or some madhab. The only thing they are doing is they are teaching you knowledge, and they keep you with your thinking and to understand things by time and by experience. We never find any students coming from the madrasa belong to any extremist ideas. Never. Those people who are coming here, they are open-minded, they know their religion, they know it's very deeply, and they are open-minded to understand many other people. This is our experience, and we see many of them, mashallah. You Dr. Badruddin, you know many of them, and they never had this kind of narrow in mind, and they are trying to just put things, they are right and nobody is right but them. No, never, you never find that. Yeah.
This is true. I can confirm that, Sidi Muhammad. From the very first thing you mentioned, Sidi Muhammad, Sidi Abdullah Rais and his father, Sidi Ibrahim Rais, never asked me such kind of questions. What do you think about this? What do you think about that person? What do you think about that place, country, group, movement, whatever? Like they just welcomed me and asked me to join the halaqat of the durus. I felt really free. You know what? I can make it like this. I was uh, even more, I enjoyed more freedom in Igleh than in other institutions. I was, I
Yeah.
pursued my, I studied in different countries, in different parts of the world, and in different institutions. But there in Igleh, I really, they organize events. By the way, there are some events, some kind of cultural events. I was
Yeah.
really astonished by that. That Sheikh Abdullah was inviting the students, right, and asking them, what do you think about that? Can you and he and very often the student answered, and this is, by the way, our third question. I don't want to to jump to conclusions, but um, uh, very often student answered in a poetic way. They used poetry in their answers. That's extraordinary. He asks them questions, right? And they say, Sheikh, can I answer? And they answered with verses of poetry they themselves composed. Uh,
Mm.
so um, that's really. impressive. And
Yeah. I have a friend who just come into Igleh just few weeks ago, and he is a Hanafi, and he sit there for 3 days or maybe 4 days, and he told me, never somebody asks me what is your madhab, and they never ask me am I going to be a Maliki, because here in Morocco they have Maliki madhab. I told him you never wait for this question. Nobody will ask you. You can just onto yourself, be a Hanafi or keep with your madhab, or choose, if you choose the Maliki madhab, nobody will ask you this question, because people here, the only thing they are focusing is knowledge. And then when you see some students, they give answer with the lines of poetry. Let's go back to the, the muhadaras of Imam al-Yusi and many other ulamas
right.
do lead this muhadaras, a kind of what we call today, and Sheikh Hamza also said that before, what you call today ثقافة عامة. You have to understand in each topic or memorize in each topic some lines, because in each topic or in each wisdom, for example, we are sharing this world, or any value we share in this world, you have to memorize some lines about it. Whenever the time is coming to speak to that, you will your this lines is coming to your mind, and it's nourishing your minds to become to let ideas come to you very smoothly. And
Mm-hmm,
I
mm-hmm.
saw many examples like that. If you sit with Sheikh Haj Ibrahim Rice or Sheikh Hadla Rice, he just speak to you. Whatever the topic is he will bring you some lines of poetry. This is adib. In Arabic, they call it adib. Adib, which means he is in eloquent in Arabic, and he has a lot of memorization of the Arabic. And adib is also sharing this with adab, which is akhlaq, which is manners. And you see, adib, it can be from adab, which is akhlaq. It can be from mastering language. So what is shared by between these two things? This is, if you have good language, you will be able to express yourself without using any efforts, which means you will always have adab. Because once your language is very narrow, you will start shouting or fighting, because your knowledge is very narrow. If your knowledge of language is extended, and you will be able to express yourself without even using any other for example, showing that you are angry or
Offensive
something.
lines.
That's
Mm-hmm,
why they
mm-hmm.
become adab with adab. Yeah, so
I
I
mean,
think, mashallah, the methodology of teaching in Madrasa Igleh is also based on hifz, on memorization, and memorization with understanding. Because some people, they are trying to criticize memorization, like if you just memorize without understanding. No, you take this what you memorize and you make it in your way to give new things in
knowledge.
it. Because like if database, we are talking about AI is working with the same. He has a kind of database, and he's trying to come with answers of any question from his database. If you ask him about something that has no database about, he will never answer. So the database we are using is a kind of heft, and also heft here. If you are getting to master language, it will become very easy for you to memorize. You can just hear two lines or three lines one time, and they stick in your mind, because you have knowledge, you have grammar, you have rhetoric, you have structure, you have also the qawaid, or rules of poetry. Once you hear the line in a kind of tune, it sticks in your mind. That's why we make all amdah of Nabi Sallallahu in poetry, Burda and Hamziya, which are very famous here in Sous. And mashallah, Sheikh Hamza Yusuf, he just translates Hamziya to English. And if you see when they're reading this poetry, we're reading this madh of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam with very very beautiful tones. It just stick in your mind without making any efforts. Yeah, mashallah.
This is true. Thank you so much. Before leaving the point about Igleh, the Arabic language, and independent thinking, um, and you highlighted a very uh, interesting point when you talked about the relationship between the impact of literature, Arabic, al-adab al-Arabi on al-adab, on manners, behavior, on ethics, on having a taste, ذوق. So, um, I was that's the second thing I keep mentioning everywhere, that in Igleh, people study some kind of abandoned books, some forgotten kind of texts like Al-Iqd al-Farid entirely, and Nafh al-Tib. Um, um, uh, I attended some Sard sessions in Iqdi, and also with Sidi Mahfouz Girihim when I was in Rasmuka. And I saw how people are almost memorizing these texts. They know them by heart. And these texts, we are talking about long volumes, right? Like and uh, uh, thinking about the relationship between um, uh, literature. I think that Arabic literature in general is um, often uh, undervalued, if I may say, if I may say it like that, in contemporary Islamic education. We had a nice chat. Maybe you can share something like in I think in June or July we had a very nice and long conversation about the impact of adab, literature, and fatwa. Right. I just open a parenthesis here. Maybe we come back to it later. But I just want to share something here that al-adab al-Arabi, like this, Arabic literature in general, including poetry, um, is almost forgotten to some extent, right, in contemporary Islamic education. I mean, here I'm meaning like the mastery of al-adab itself, not like studies by outsiders, like someone who's studying the phenomenon of Arab. No, I'm talking about someone who's capable of reading, memorizing, understanding, analyzing these texts. So this, in my opinion, and then you can add your insights, Sidi Muhammad. I think that this leads to a dry, maybe mechanical
Yeah.
and rigid discourse. Al-khitab, the discourse of the Islamic discourse nowadays, may suffer of some um, uh, um, mechanical or rigid uh, um, um, features,
Yeah.
simply because this aspect is forgotten.
Yeah, subhanallah, it's completely the opposite here in Sous. And if you go back to our ulamas in the past, Imam Shafi'i, in his risala, he really makes it very clear. If you want to understand Sharia, you have to understand Arabic. And he's not talking about Arabic as it is today, or even as it is in his time. He's talking about the Arabic in the time of Wahi, when Nabi Sallallahu was in Arab in Jazeera Arabia, and he's trying. We are trying to keep Arabic and to keep our understanding to Arabic the same as it is in the Quran and the Sunnah, because language is changed by time and by people getting, for example, changing ideas with different cultures, and their language is changing in any language. But for us, as we are one, our goal is to keep our Arabic beneficial in understanding of the Quran and the Sunnah. And Imam Shafi in his Risala said, "Al-Shari'atu Arabiyyatun." It is said, "Al-Sharia is Arabic." If you don't understand Arabic, you will never be able to understand Sharia. There are many examples about that. Even in the Quran, if you want to read the ayahs with what they are now, or Arabic now, you will understand. يُبَيِّنُ اللَّهُ لَكُمْ أَن تَضِلُّوا. So if you think is the bayan is for misguiding, that this is not what it means. Because in nowadays our language is very simple. So
mm,
we are trying why we choose this عقد فريد نفحتب, or even Ibn Khaldun in his مقدمة he said الآداب دواوين الآداب أربعة. He said we have four books for the adab Arabic: الكامل للمبرز, والأمالي لبيع القالي, و, و, and he mentioned four books. They are the standards books of Arabic, and those books all belong to the second century, some of them the third century, and they keep why we keep with the Jahili poetry, because the Jahili poetry is really keeping the Arabic language as it is at the time of the Wahy. That's why we are trying to memorize mu'allaqat and memorize all these poetries. I mean, if you go to the Alfiyat bin Malik that we are studying here in Sous, the Alfiya is 1,000 line, but the Shawahid, which is a poetry that's belonged to the Jahili time, is more than 3,000 a line, which
mm,
means, and our Sheikh Salah Haj Ibrahim, he said, if you memorize the Shawahid, you don't need any dictionary. Your dictionary is in your mind, because all the highest level of Arabic in terms of structure and the hardest vocabulary is in this poetry. If you memorize this 3,000 line, all the dictionary, everything that you are going to see in the dictionary, it's already in your mind. You don't need a dictionary. So that's why in Arabic we don't have this dictionary that has a kind of a date. You see, for example, this word is means to be so and so in the time of, for example, in the Middle Age, and it means to be this in the other age. And because our studying of Arabic is not just keeping Arabic as a language, but making it useful for us to keep our understanding of Sharia correct. Because if
mhm.
you don't understand Nas, if you don't understand the text, the applying of it will not be understood also. There are many ahadith, if you read them literally, for anybody who is not studying the standard Arabic, he just listen to the modern Arabic in the media, he will never understand. It might even look for them strange. If I just told you, ad-dinu an-nasihatu, giving the ta'rif to both al-mubtada wal-khabar, it's not used in nowadays language. Ad-dinu an-nasihatu. If I say ad-dinu nasihatun, that's very clear. But if I say ad-dinu an-nasihatu, some people say we are not familiar with hearing both parts of speech has a ta'rif, and that has, because if al-mubtada wal khabar, all of them are mu'arraf, which means there is hasad. It's the whole religion, the whole of deen is included in nasiha. That's what it means. That's why they are equal. If you have this
Mm.
one, it's equal in this one. That this kind of understanding who's go back to the, and I'm telling you, even in the other languages, I see people who are speaking English, they didn't study Arabic English rhetoric. And that's why we are trying to do in this Zaytuna. In Zaytuna College, we are trying to do what we call liberal arts, make students strong in grammar, in rhetoric, in logic. These three main subjects we have, besides the other subjects that belongs to the Islamic studies, either fiqh or theology or even Islamic economy. But these three subjects, they are main subjects we have, and also they are in all classes. And in all
That's
classes, yeah.
true. The liberal arts, these three, Sheikh Hamza wrote a very beautiful article in 2019. He named it Athena and Medina. And he, in the
Mm.
introduction, he discussed the liberal arts and how they functioned in the past and how they impacted free thought and intellectual independence, and also uh, how they served as an engine or like a source of inspiration to balanced education. I there is another great point here to highlight. You mentioned, Sidi Muhammad, that al-lugha, the language, uh, um, has a notion of um, flexibility, because we know that the language keeps moving and changing. You referred to different
Yeah.
usages or different applications. So we understand that the language has this notion. It's not just a rigid text to memorize. It interacts with your mind, with your way of understanding things, and that's your intellectual independence. So just by mastering language
Yeah.
through this, I wanted to share a very quick anecdote here. And it's about language, but not in Shibh al-Jazeera, the Arabian Peninsula, but in another peninsula. That's the Iberian Peninsula in Al-Andalus. Poetry, it was. I know some of the texts you study, Nafh al-Tib and Al-Iqd al-Farid, they come from this context, right? Uh, um, uh, Poetry uh, was central to Islamic tradition, right? Yeah, it's a very beautiful and inspiring example. And not only religious and didactic poetry, manzumat, but also secular. They used even secular forms of poetry, and they coined those names for these new patterns, like muwashahat and azjal in al-Andalus, which Muslims and arguably Christians and Jews, right, used to interact culturally, theologically, and artistically. And the anecdote is that uh, recently uh, I wrote a piece of um, writing. It's a paper showing how secular muwashahat and azjal composed to be sung and memorized in Al-Andalus can support theology, education, and offer a more tolerant alternative to narrow theological novel or texts or thoughts. And I remember that one of the reviewers of this the article asked why you didn't use a Sufi muwashah as a case study, like and and um, I think that the reviewer missed the point, because I wanted to show that even secular, like the Moshahat and Azjal, were composed for ordinary people, for everyone in Al-Andalus to memorize them and perform them and sing them and say them to celebrate the beautiful meanings and positive aspects of their faith. So even secular poems at that time, and according to that worldview and understanding, taught faith and to an extent religious tolerance. So I see that very close to the example of Igleh and the students of Igleh and the teachers of Igleh. Um, so if you allow, Sidi Muhammad, we move to the third and possibly the last aspect of part of our discussion, and then to welcome some questions and comments from our attendees and colleagues.
Yeah.
So our last point is the following. So some people argue I believe that you referred to this earlier, but some people argue that madrasas were designed only to preserve traditional knowledge, right? And not to inspire innovation or new thinking. We go to madrasa to memorize things. We know how our predecessors thought and behaved um, 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 and even taught, not just thought, but also how they, the teaching tradition and so forth. So how would you respond to that view?
I would like I would say it's the opposite, because if you come here and see, we are taking from, we are taking from the past something that is going to benefit us in our present. We are just taking things like randomly. No, whatever is teaching in this madrasa is has its purpose, and it's beneficial. I'll give you a simple example. We studied, for example, we begin with the memorization of the Quran. This is the first thing we should do, because memorizing the Quran, nobody can discuss its beneficial besides in terms of the a deed. Even in your life, memorizing the Quran is the beneficial things you can do in your life. Someone who memorized the Quran is somebody Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, inna nazzalna dhikra wa inna lahu lahafidhun. And al-hifz, we are going to preserve this Quran, and the preserving the Quran is by memorizing it. It's not by writing it in scripture, because if you don't memorize it, you cannot read correctly. Our Quran, the one using in paper is the second version. The first version is the one in the Sudur. This is the first version of the Quran. So memorization of the Quran is something beneficial for any Muslim. So coming to understand this Quran, how you're going to understand this Quran if you don't study this Arabic? Because the Arabic of the Quran never changed. Translation is giving you some understanding, but it will not be the same as if you understand it. For example, you just say, "Inna nahnu nazzalna dhikra wa inna lahu lahafidhun." This is inna here is for tawkid. This is one tawkid. Inna lahu lahafidhuna. الجملة الاسمية is tawkid again. تقديم التقديم. You can say إنا لحافظونه ولا لحافظون له. You say له لحافظون. تقديم is another توكيد. اللام لام الابتداء is a توكيد, which means indeed 5 times or 4 times of showing that the emphasis of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to preserve the Quran. You will not understand that if you don't go back to study this Arabic. People who are doing, for example, today translation, it can give you some meaning, but you will never get to understand what it means if you don't study Arabic. I saw Sheikh Hamza just few days ago. He speak about the ayah in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said to in Fir'aun, فَاسْتَخَفَّ قَوْمَهُ فَأَطَاعُوا. How can you translate in English? استخف قومه. One of the biggest scholars in California, with Dr. Cleary, he said استخف is he make his people flippant. And he said فأطاعوا, and says they go along with him. He didn't say they obey him, because obedience is come with a kind of deep understanding and willing. But here, they didn't understand. If there is obedience, they understand what it is. They just make them flippant and they go along with it. So this kind of understanding is not going to be exist if you don't study this text hard. And in terms of applying what we studied in this traditional school, it's what I think is, if you study deeply in these madrasas, you will be able to understand the world today more than anybody else who is being in the surface. Because if you go deep and come back, you will have another eyes, and you will have another background, and you will compare things. We will compare things and see what we are. Because some people, they just have a kind of a very basic understanding of something and they keep promoting it all the time. But if you go deep and see, it's not as it look like. So I think studying in these madrasas and benefiting from the texts they are studying in these madrasas is going to equipping you to be able to understand and apply your knowledge in modern situations and modern societies. Yeah.
And some of the real life examples are the graduates of Igleh and the people who studied in Igleh and in those madrasas. So we know that they don't have any kind of um, conflicts between what they study in these madrasas and the reality or their both in their professional personal careers. Uh, um, so uh, I think that it would be fair now to go back to Noor and our attendees and to give a chance for those who are still here uh, to enrich our conversation and ask their questions, if any. Thank
Yeah,
you very much.
yeah, yeah. Before that, just would like to thank the Edraak webinar and Dr. Nora, mashallah, and thank also people who are really supporting this education and mashallah, the authority of Morocco, the King Mohammed VI, mashallah, he gives a lot of his instructions to preserve this education and keep it, mashallah, beneficial for students and for shuyukh. And also the Ministry of Awqaf is doing much work, hard work in that, and they are trying to preserve this education and bring whatever is going to benefit, inshallah, in this field. And mashallah, and also thank our shuyukh for their mashallah sabr with us, because we really mashallah study with them, and they, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive us if we made any mistakes at the time we were studying with them. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive us. And we thank them a lot, inshallah, and we make dua for them, inshallah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, those who are still alive, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala keep them healthy, inshallah. Those who are, inshallah, passed away, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant their souls in grave with mercy and rahmah, inshallah. Thank you very much.
I mean, thank you, Sidi Muhammad. Back to you, Noor.
Okay, thank you so much. That was a very interesting discussion, especially for someone who's not very familiar with the traditional landscape of Islamic education. And also, my Arabic is very shweya shweya, so so
Yeah, yeah,
so that was a
inshallah.
lot for
Yes,
me to
yes,
digest. We
inshallah.
welcome any questions from the audience. If you have any, please raise your hand if you would like to ask a question. Okay, maybe I will ask a question. Um, Maybe my question is quite simple, I think. Since we are talking about, at Islam and Liberty Network, it's about um recovering the sense of liberty in the Islamic tradition. Do you believe that how does like an education in the madrasa help recover this ideal of liberty in Islam? That's my question.
Yeah, is that question for the doctor and Badr Jin or for me?
For
I
you,
think
sorry.
Should be
it's
for you.
okay.
It should be for you.
I think, mashallah, Dr. Badruddin has something to say about that because I saw his participation last time, Usul Fiqh. Isn't it? Usul Fiqh has something to
But
do with
yeah,
liberty. Right? Yeah, yeah.
that
So
was our conference in
whatever I say,
Istanbul. Yeah.
whatever I say will be less than than his knowledge, mashallah. But in any case, I think one of the things we just mentioned later, it is because the sheikh will never ask you to take any sides or belong to any group or any. He just keep you open mind and see things as they are in their reality. So if you see sheikh as example, who has a lot of knowledge and understand many things, and he keep his mind very open, and he understand a lot of people and speak about, and they give the opportunity to many people to share ideas with them, even if they come the opposite, for example, of what we have. For example, some people they come and they say this education is so and so and so and so. They never get in fight with them or something. They just try to clarify their situation and give the opportunity to other people to understand. So I think the example of Sheikh is really having is really applying a big role in that. Also, the kind of subject you study, because we are studying, as the doctor just mentioned, we are studying, for example, poetry that belongs to the Jahili time. And they never say, oh, those people, they are Jahili, they are not Muslims, we should not study their poetry. No, it's the opposite. The preferable poetry is the one that belong to the Jahili, because it's the pure one that's coming in the time of the Prophet ﷺ, and it's go hand in hand with the Arabic language we are looking for. So I think, as we say, al-hikmah dallatul mu'min. The wisdom is something that a Muslim should follow whenever it is. We never judge people by their race, their color, their gender. We only keep with our understanding of the Sharia and trying to be good examples for the other people. And I'll give talk to the Sheikh Badr Din. He will clarify the points better than me because, mashallah, he participates in a big conference, and his topic was close to your question.
Oh, thank you, Sidi Mohammed. Just I we may discuss my presentation, which by the way was in during the 11th conference of Islam and Liberty in Istanbul. I just wanted to add that this aspect, I mean, this is maybe one of the aspects of liberty, right? Because liberty uh, is a uh, broader, and it has multiple manifestations and applications, right? But this aspect of liberty is really important in educating Muslims on the very sense of liberty, because this word and its implications in many discourses in many parts of the Muslim world might be um, uh, it's been demonized in simple words. So when Muslims uh, uh, get this or receive this from a madrasa, from a very traditional educational source and institution, I think that this might be really, really significant and relevant in uh, uh, raising awareness and helping Muslims to rediscover, reconciliate with the concept itself,
Yeah,
um,
for sure.
which needs work from and efforts from different aspects and dimensions. But here, because we are talking about in education, I think that I totally agree that there are still some madrasas who can be uh, really in the way they are teaching, in the way they are raising and educating new generations. They are directly or indirectly promoting this concept and its applications in the Muslim world.
Thank you for answering my question. We have a question from Dr. Mustafa Raji, who's our Algeria Fellow for the Islam and Liberty Network. Go ahead, Mustafa. Mustafa, are you still there?
Yeah, he probably is speaking, but I think he's mute.
There is a mute.
Yeah, Sidi Mustafa, unmute yourself.
Salam.
Yeah.
Liberate
Hello.
your voice.
So, okay,
Now,
it's okay now? It's okay now?
yeah, we can hear you. Thanks.
سيدي محمد تبارك الله عليك.
Thank you very much. شكرا جزيلا. أكرمك الله وبارك فيك.
شكرا تبارك الله عليك. Very great speech. Thanks, Badr, to invite you and Noor. And let me welcome Professor Abdul Ali. He's with us for first time. And I will ask him to and he is Tamazight. He knows speaks Tamazight, but his Igleh is in Berberophone area. And I will ask him to talk, to intervene about this, how Arabic in Igleh is teached and educated in Berberophone area. And this is big question for you, Sidi Muhammad. How this madrasa is focusing on teaching Arabic in Berberophone environment. There's a lot of shluh is coming. How they teach about how the shilha or the Berber is making any impact or difficulty or is helping. I don't know what's the matter here. You have to do about shilha.
Thank you very much.
That question I will let my Professor Abdul Ali is with us here to intervene. Second point, it was great speech, great experience, very very fascinating. Yes, we need to reflect about education. We are in crisis time with our modern education is in crisis because we are not educating people. We actually, like you said, we are just giving people information, and there is now people are finding information in the internet, and you are less important for us than the big mission of education. And the great things in this Igleh school is the education. We need to come back to learn more about education. But you have just speech. You have just like give us a romantic idea, romantic perspective on the madrasa. But please, let's speak about some difficulties, some challenges. For example, from the attendance difficulty. Let's speak. Let's meet some balance. You know, because any education, any system, any schools, they have virtues and positive things, but also challenges.
For sure.
Thank you very much, Mohammed.
Thank you, Muhammad. I'll go back first to your first question and come to the second one. The first one, how the Tamazight is dealing with or helping or maybe being a kind of obstacle for a learner of Arabic. For us, as I mentioned, the Tamazight is another language for those who are not speaking Tamazight. It is very very different from Arabic in its vocabulary, in its culture, even in its pronunciation is different. So we knew that if the language is completely separated from other language, it will not help you for understanding. But the methodology we are following in Igleh and many other and all the other madrasas in Sous, they really focus at the first time in Nahu, which is grammar, in Ajurumia, and also the way Sheikh is explaining these rules of grammar is giving the opportunity to students to listen to the Arabic and read. One of the things that is missing, which is the main thing in the class of Arabic in madrasas, is sard. It is missing in many other systems of teaching. Third is when you put any book and read and let some child listen to you and start correcting your mistakes and keeping you and remembering you with the rules that you studied. And also, he can discuss with you in terms of grammar, in terms of rhetoric, in terms of logic, in terms of many, even masail. So this masala, we mentioned it last time in so and so books. So as students, when he came here, I have the example of three Philippines who come in here. They didn't even know how to write in Arabic letters. They know how to write alif ba. And now three of them, they memorize the whole of the Quran, and they can read it correctly in terms of pronunciation, in terms of qawaid, and also their writing. If you see their lawh now, after 3 years, it's like if you are writing with the Uthmanis hand scripts. Others first didn't even know how to write even one letter. Some people that are coming from France, they are belonging to some Arab countries, but they born in France and they come from France. They only speak French. They only speak French. They don't have any idea about Arabic. Once they stay here, they speak Arabic. They speak Arabic fluently. So here it depends. The teaching of Arabic depends on texts, on like conversations, on reading. Also students, because here if you come to study here, all the time you are in the madrasa, you are not living somewhere. You just get up at the 7 morning and you take the bus to go to the madrasa and spend 2 hours in the class and come back. No, I'm going to tell you what you benefit in this madrasas before Fajr. It may be more beneficial that will benefit the whole of the day. People getting up very early before the Fajr, 1 hour, and then studying and read and praying together and studying the Quran and reading the Hizb and reading the Hamziyah. Then they go and memorize. Then they go to the classes. When they finish classes, they have also, we have here what we call the kind of teaching, students teaching themselves. You don't need to wait for a teacher to begin his class. You can just find some students who are advanced than you and start studying with them. And we have many, I studied many mutun with advanced students when I was in the madrasa. So we have the vertical teaching, and we have also the horizontal teaching. You can benefit from it. And the other students, they really like to teach. And we can go in any time, morning time, evening time, even night time. You can take your book and go to any students in his room and ask him to study with you something or to give you any explanation to anything you have, and they keep. And also they have time when they are writing. I don't want to be in details in the program itself in 7 days. If maybe has another chance to talk about that, I will explain the program in Igleh how it works. But I just want to make sure that they are based on the texts, on understanding, on explanation, on reading, and conversation with other students all the time. So you really put yourself in an environment in which the Arabic is spoken and written and reading all the time. That's why that will benefit. If you study in somewhere else, you just study 2 hours a week or 3 hours or 4 hours, maybe even three classes or five classes a week. That can be taught or studied in only one day in these madrasas. Yeah, this is the first question. The second question said we have to bring the negative sides besides of talking the positive sides. I wouldn't call it to the negative one, but I would say what is missing in that, because we are now working in a small committees and trying to make this education, for example, to preserve what we have and to make it more useful for new generations. The first thing we are looking for is to add other languages. I was just before a week, just I was in madrasa, and the sheikh asks me to speak about to give any advice to students. I told them, you have to study English language because you will need the English language for transmitting and explain what you have to other people. We have many Muslims that are not Arabic speaker. We have people in Indonesia, we have in Malaysia, we have Muslims in Malaysia, we have in Pakistan, we have Muslims, and those people they don't speak Arabic. So if you have a chance to study this knowledge we have here in Sous and explain it and transmit it to the other people with other tongue and give them the opportunity to study or to understand these things with their tongue, which is English most of the time, that's what we've been. That's why we are working now in a curriculum to add English language to this madrasas. And also, I told them once you already succeed in learning Arabic, take the same methodology used in Arabic and apply it with the English. We don't need to give you any or impose something in your to do. Just go and ask yourself, I came to this madrasa, I don't know anything about Arabic, even one word. So now I become fluent in Arabic. What what did I did for that? What I did for that? And take these things, this methodology you follow with the understanding of mastering Arabic language and apply it with the Arabic with the English language. So I think this is one of the most missing aspects we have in these madrasas. And also, if we have this language, we have an English language, as you know, mashallah, Dr. Mustafa, you are in Algeria, and you know people, they are really interested in these foreign languages. So we will have the opportunity to also to bring many other people or brought their attention to these madrasas because people they are looking for the foreign language, especially English, for their kids. So I think this is my answer for these two questions. If Dr. Badruddin has something else, please feel free to share your ideas.
Thank
Thank you very much.
you. Thank you, Sidi Muhammad. Thank
Thank
you,
you,
Dr.
thank you.
Mustafa. Thank you, Dr. Abdul Qadir Abdul Ali. I see him here. Thank you very much, everyone else, for joining us today. Just a very quick comment on the challenges thing, and Dr. Mustafa, who said that you gave us a romantic perspective on madrasa. We alerted you, we told you at the beginning that we are going to share with you memories. We both studied, of course, Sidi Muhammad more than me because he's local. Studied in madrasa. I mean, I studied according to madrasa system before going to Morocco. But I lived in Morocco for many years, so that's why I have really beautiful memories and experiences that helped me uh, everywhere else. I just want to say something about the challenges. Challenges, like in every other educational institution, sometimes they are financial, sometimes they are, there are, the madrasas in this region have. I mean, I will not speak on behalf of Sidi Muhammad. He knows better, about this. But alhamdulillah, things are getting way better. Way
Yes.
better. That time, it was a problem to reach to the school. I used it to go to Igleh on the pickup of a car that took the bread to the students, right? The car that distributed the bread twice a day. I still remember the name of the driver. I used to wait for the car to get from Enzi to Igleh. But now everything is easy, alhamdulillah. There are many facilities, and more facilities are coming for, especially for foreigners, to visit Igleh and live there, for researchers from Western countries and so forth. Um, uh, uh, um, I just want to say last thing related to this point. In When I presented
Yes,
the
in terms of the facilities, we are working now in building a kind of hotel apartments to be available for even couples, female and male, who come to the madrasa. Sometimes we have couples, married people, they are coming and they need a specific space for them. So we are working in that, inshallah. Maybe from now to 1 year or maybe less, inshallah, they will be available for foreign students who come into these madrasas. So alhamdulillah, we have many facilities, inshallah, and we are working in making it much better, inshallah, for the future.
Inshallah. Thank you, Sidi Mohammed. Just one colleague who asked this question. Dr. Bianca is still here. I hope to hear from her, but I don't know if she's available. But during her conference in Exeter University 3 weeks ago, one colleague, after seeing everything about the madrasa system and equipment, so he said, like, do you guys live with us in this world? Do you live in this world, or you're still living in the pre-modern world? He saw the pictures and heard the stories and all those challenges. So there are real actual challenges. But I told this friend and colleague that we study in madrasas to survive the labyrinth of the world. Uh,
Yeah.
so the if we talk about challenges, the challenges are not solely challenges related to madrasa. There are a lot of maybe more problems in the world we're living in. So it wouldn't be fair to focus on the problems and challenges of madrasa itself, because the problems we have in our world are way bigger and more challenging. So just because I mentioned that in the introduction of my of today's session, the Czech educator and philosopher Jan Amos Komenski, and mentioned now the labyrinth of the world. His most famous piece of writing is the labyrinth of the world and the paradise of the heart. It's the most beautiful text of Czech literature, if you're interested in that. So just I borrowed the word the labyrinth of the world to answer our friend. So thank you all for joining. If we don't have other questions, I may just summarize in a few words. I hope this conversation has offered a fresh perspective on
Sure.
education, one that honors tradition while engaging with today's uh, urgent challenges. Dr. Bufaris reminded us that madrasas, when rooted in adab and deep language learning, can be a source of both intellectual independence and spiritual resilience. May we continue to seek knowledge that liberate, not just informs. Thank you again, Sidi Muhammad, and thanks to all
Thank you very
our
much.
attendees. Thank you, Sidi Muhammad, and thank you, Noor. Thank you, everyone, for being with us today. And then
Thank
until
you.
next time.
Thank you, Sidi Mohammed. Thank you, Badr. Thank you, Noor.
Thank you very
Thank
Thank you, everybody. Salam, salam.
much. Thank you very much. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us with tawfiq, inshallah. Thank you very much. Inshallah, we are looking forward, inshallah, another chance. Thank you very much.